Unless you are buying into a future of yo-yo dieting, ups and downs, and being defined by weight, I really recommend you stick around, watch this video, because I'm going to give you the ultimate guide to weight loss surgery and how to make it effective, how to work with the tool, and how to allow it to change your life and give your life back. And who am I to give this information? Well, I've had the pleasure of working with thousands of patients as part of the tonic surgery aftercare, and through sometimes an arm on the shoulder, sometimes some strategic advice, or sometimes just making people realize how capable they actually are, I will get you to your weight loss goal. But most importantly, build habits along the way so weight is no longer something that's going to define your life. I myself have had ups and downs with yo-yo dieting. I've binge ate in car parks because I'm too embarrassed to tell my wife, even while PTing at the same time. I felt like a fraud. But it's something that I don't think ever goes away from you binge eating. I don't think there's anything that ever goes away from you yo-yo dieting, because you have to eat on a day-to-day basis. But there are certain pillars you can put in place. And post-bariatric surgery, it's not too different. And I'm going to talk about the differences and make you understand what works, what doesn't work. So stick around for the ride, and I promise you, you'll take home some real lessons to put into your life to help you with your weight loss going forwards. I really want to say this is the blueprint to success after bariatric surgery, but everybody's very different. There isn't a one-size-fits-all to weight loss. This is precisely the reason we shouldn't be comparing. There's so many different medical conditions, metabolic conditions, start weights, gender, age. These are all things that can make weight vary from person to person. But with the right practice in place, the most important word being consistent with them, you will get the results. This video today is brought to you by MyProtein. I am a MyProtein ambassador. I use it every single day myself. Of course, protein is a really valuable macronutrient for everybody, but particularly post-bariatric surgery patients. If you want some supplementation, hit the link below and you'll get a little discount. And thank you so much for continuing to watch the video. Might as well press subscribe while we're at it as well. Number one, the first 6 weeks are gonna feel restrictive. They're going to feel difficult. You go through different phases: liquid, puree, soft, and then whole food. So restrictive by nature. But please realize that at 6 weeks, it's no longer about super restriction and aggressive weight loss. You do tend to lose a lot of weight in the early stages. It's about taking this whole process by the scruff of the neck, whether it's 1.5 stone, 2 stone, 3 stone, whatever you might have lost in that time frame, taking it by the scruff of the neck and going, right, this is no longer a restrictive process. It is a progressive process. What can I go and do to go and explore this tremendous weight loss? Suddenly movement is maybe there's not going to be pain anymore. Perhaps you might find your breathing's getting better. More often than not, you'll find your sleep quality's getting better. Let's get some new progressive habits in place to explore this weight loss that's going to last the rest of our life. It's quite hard to break bad habits. It's a lot easier to build good new ones. It's particularly easier to build good new ones when you are losing lots of weight, because everything is going to feel so much better while looking to build these habits. An example is maybe going for a walk is usually a very desirable thing for lots of people to do. But if you experience knee pain from osteoarthritis, or indeed perhaps you have anxiety because you're a bit uncomfortable about your weight, well, we know that people don't have to get to a goal weight to suddenly feel more confident. It tends to live in the process. It tends to live in the progress. So by suddenly having that as a tool to go and do, that changes your environment. It means you're less likely to snack. It means you're less likely to feel flat and tired. Getting outside, fresh air, daylight, complemented by good sleep. These are progressive processes that are going to aid weight loss long term. But again, most importantly, when you get to your goal weight, you are going to be not thinking about weight because you've got so many great things to go and do. It starts with walking. It could build towards a gym class. It could build towards travel. Lots of patients don't like to travel because of the seatbelt extender. There's all these things that we can go and do. And I would say at 6 week post-procedure, that's where we go, right, how am I going to make this work for me in all the wonderful ways that exist out there? Number two, I've mentioned it already, but I would be optimizing my protein. Let's study protein. Let's get behind it. Let's find out why it's important. Don't just do protein because I say or the dietitian says. Do it because it's the right thing to do for you. It's an important macronutrient and it's something we need to prioritize. You tend to find people are far more likely to stick to protein goals when they understand what it's actually doing for you. I think people get it's good for their hair. I think people get that it's kind of good for weight loss, but why? It's great for your metabolism, which can plummet when you lose so much weight so quickly, so it keeps that fire burning, so to speak. but also it tends to be quite filling, which doesn't feel like that big a deal in the early stages because the restriction is so present. But over the course of time, it becomes a really handy part of your diet structure on a day-to-day basis. In those first 6 weeks, we tend to recommend around 60 grams of protein, which for some people sounds like quite a lot, but the truth be told is every gram of protein is only 4 calories. So that's only 240 calories. Even in those early stages, we need to be having 5, 6, 7, 800 calories. So we're talking, 25%, 33% of your day. Most of your day is still going to be made up of carbs and fats, even in those early stages. To my first point, we want it to be a progressive process. So at 6 weeks, we were looking to get that from 60 grams up to around 80 grams of protein per day. Even over the course of the months, we go into 100 grams of protein per day. Remember, every gram of protein is only 4 calories. So 100 grams is only 400 calories. If we're living an active lifestyle, which gives you a little bit of a clue as to what number 3 is going to be, you will find that it's quite easy to get those protein numbers up. But if we sit around not doing very much, not exploring the weight loss in different ways, not enhancing our mobility because the injuries tend to subside as pressure's coming down, as weight loss is occurring, you're going to find it harder to fuel yourself accordingly, and you won't get that energizing, fulfilling, fueling an active lifestyle feeling because low calorie diet and not a lot of movement, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out that that's not going to be the most energizing process of them all. Point number 3, we encourage you to be active pretty much from the get-go. Even if it's walking around your hospital bed, if every hour at home you set an alarm and walk around at home, this is tremendously important, usually towards gas pain. But also, we don't want to seize up, we don't want to feel worse during it. But again, to my point, you're going to feel differences quite quickly because after the LRD, the weight loss is quite aggressive. The LRD being the period of time that your surgeon and dietitian will set for you before the operation. Sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's 4. It depends usually on the start weight of the individual. But usually good weight loss has already occurred before the operation. And then post-op, continuing to explore that through movement is super valuable. A wonderful thing about the human body that no one wants to talk about is if you do something consistently, you tend to get better at it. It doesn't matter if it's learning to drive a car. It doesn't matter if it's lifting a weight with a bicep. It doesn't matter if you're playing the piano. If you do it 10 times, you tend to be better the 10th time than you do the first time. And with exercise world, as you're losing lots of weight, you're going to 10x that experience because you're going to feel it so much more. And then at 6 weeks, to my point earlier on, after keeping active and walking day to day for 42 days, that's going to really add up and compound, by the way. Let's look into whether it be a home workout with resistance band or a light dumbbell, or even bigger, maybe we go to a space to go and express ourselves, whether that be a class, a swimming pool, a sport, or indeed the gym. Ask questions, explore. One of the reasons I'm doing this YouTube channel is that I want everyone to be furnished with all the facts. And the facts are not, well, actually, I don't really like exercise because, one time I didn't do it very well. And no, none of that. Let's grab it by the scruff for the next 6 weeks and beyond, and let's go and show the world what we can do. Number 4, we really need to be very, very, very shrewd around our minerals and our vitamins and supplementation. We need to be very mindful of things like iron, calcium, vitamin D. These are things that can be quite tricky to get into your diet, but also in England, I think everyone should be on vitamin D because, it's all right today, but it's usually not that great. Let's get really clued up around these supplementation, work with your dietitian or your team, or indeed, if you are further down the road, get someone to give you accountability towards that, because these are super important. These are sort of like the building blocks of energy in our body. And if it is a case of, if one of these things like iron, we become anemic, the rest of it tends to fall with it. Ideally, we get it in our diet. Ideally, we get it in our day-to-day diet, but realistically, bear in mind the low calorie nature of the diet, bear in mind things like protein's very filling, water's very voluminous, and indeed certain sort of nutrient dense food can be quite filling as well. We need to really have an open mind towards supplementation and having a structure behind it. Have it ready in the morning or whenever you choose to have it. Let's have a plan of action around that. And like anything in life, as you do it more consistently, you feel better for doing it, you will thrive from doing it. The problem with supplementation is you don't tend to feel much better straight away. It tends to be if you don't do it for a period of time, it can be really problematic. So just having that, no reward, I'm just going to do this day to day because it's the right thing to do, is a really good plan around your supplementation. And a 4B, if you will, is hydration. Let's really double down on that. It can be quite challenging in the early stages because I've already touched on it. Water can be quite filling. It's very voluminous alongside protein, alongside the restriction. It is a case of small sips throughout the day. And while that can sometimes feel tedious, it's so important to remain hydrated. Not just for weight loss because it's filling. Most functions of the body really relies on water to allow it to work most efficiently. So if you don't, you're just going to feel flatter, you're going to feel more de-energized. Some patients report that they can get quite dizzy when they stand up because the body can't get blood and oxygen to the brain efficiently. So it's just super important to have small sips throughout the day. I tend to, in the book here, you can probably see it behind me, Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about habit stacking, so maybe having small sips of water built into other habits that you do throughout the day. So when you wake up in the morning, have some water. When you go to bed at night, have some water. When you get in the car, have some water. When you put the kettle on, when you brush your teeth, these are the small things. It'll get easier over time, but in those early stages, it's really worth your while concentrating on water to help you support your journey accordingly. And point number 5, we want to be process-driven daily rather than defined by the outcome. What do I mean by that? Well, I've gone through some key processes there. Optimal protein, exercise, fluids, supplementation. At 6 weeks, making sure we grab it by the scruff of the neck and we are progressive rather than just trying to always be restrictive. If we do those things, you will elicit aggressive weight loss in the early stages and then more consistent losses after that. There is a changing point. It's no longer going to always be aggressive. You're not going to lose 5, 6, 7 pounds a week anymore. It's not going to happen. It will slow down. And if we start overthinking it, thinking it's too slow, thinking what's going on, like so many people do, like I have done as part of yo-yo dieting, I promise you it's going to get bumpier if you stop doing the right processes, which is very common in diet culture. It's not working anymore, so why am I doing this? These processes I spoke about here will energize you continuously throughout day to day, and it will emphasize things like your sleep, and it will really, really bring the process together to be a very virtuous cycle. Whereas if we get defined by the outcome, because we know that weight loss will slow down a little bit over time, we know that weight will stick every now and again for a couple of weeks or so. If you stop doing those processes, it will be a very, very vicious cycle. It will get bumpy. And the whole stigma around weight loss surgery is we know, everyone knows who's helped people or who's helped thousands of people like me. It's not an easy road. It's tricky, it's difficult, there's ups and downs. And if we start going down a road of, oh, it's not working anymore, well, that is leaning into that this tool is doing it for you. We know we've got to work with the tool, but the aggressive losses that occur earlier on allow you to put these into practice with confidence, without pain. And that is a successful weight loss surgery journey. And the number one thing that makes it more successful than anything else, and they live in these habits, is weight is no longer a feature of your life. You don't have to weigh yourself anymore because you've got these pillars in place. So every now and again, if you do it for whatever reason, you're merely collecting data. If you do decide to track calories for a period of time because you want to before a holiday, you're merely collecting data. You are the byproduct of your good habits, and that is one of the most energizing things of them all, and it makes you realize how capable you really are. I really hope you enjoyed this video. There's plenty more to come. I'm aiming to do 30 videos in 30 days. So again, please hit the subscribe button, and I will look forward to catching up with you all very soon. Goodbye.